Ryan Rising. Thanks for attending this session, Cameron. It's important you have this discussion with yourself because just like the previous ones you've been having, this one is also a part of the process of discovering your identity and elaborating and expressing yourself. So lately, well, just the past couple hours since you woke up at about 12:30 in the morning, you've been feeling very remorseful and bored. Okay, so I'm feeling remorseful about some of the past relationships I've had, how things didn't work out. Um, and this is the thing. Okay, you're still 24. You're young. It didn't work out. That's natural. Be glad you're still here to tell that it didn't work out because a lot of things, relationships aside, could have also not worked out and you could have not been here to even talk about it. But for you to feel remorseful is that means that yes, at the time you did you felt very good, you felt very sure of yourself. You felt very confident in what you were doing and how the future was going to unfold. It didn't unfold that way. It doesn't mean you were wrong. It just means that, okay, well, maybe it does mean you were wrong, but not in every area because you didn't know everything about yourself that you do know now. And so because you know more about yourself now, you're less likely to make those same type of reactions, have those same type of reactions to a unfamiliar situation. Because sometimes when that happens, you make bad decisions. So you made a good decision by however you ended the relationship or broke it off with the person or exited. But for you to feel remorseful, which means that there's like a part of that situation with that person that is inside of you that you feel like, oh, this was so good, I should have it back. That's bad. Let the bad out. The reason it's bad is because if it was so good, you would have it right now. Like oxygen, right? If oxygen was bad, you wouldn't be breathing it. You would be breathing something else. But oxygen is so good, you have it right now. Or like this house, right? You know what I'm saying? Like this house that you built is so good that you have it right now. You didn't build it, but you rehabbed it, basically. Well, that's exactly what you did. Um, so for you to feel like that about the relationship just means that, yeah, you can have regrets about how it went down, how you were in the relationship, and how you are not that same person because you aren't, or how the other person is because they're more than likely they're not that same person either at this point in time. However, at that point in time, when you two or you more than two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 people were in the relationship, it's split apart for a reason. Now, the reason more than likely is lack of character development, which is what the purpose of these are. And so for you to have the regret is also just to say that there's a lack of character development, there's a lack of realization that the past is unchanging. The past is certain, and that certainty is not something that you have control over. It's similar to chaos. You have more control over the future than you do the past, but you have no control over what another person does or what you have done already. That's the chaos, and that like once you do that thing, it's done. It's written. It's history, or that will forever be in the past. So there's that. The part of it is just releasing and forgiving yourself, so that way you can have less burdens on your plate and you can move faster. You have less friction holding you back, and you can achieve more of the things which are for you that God has placed in your path. Because when one door closes, another door opens. However, when you got this baggage on your shoulders, you can't, you can't take that baggage with you if you going somewhere, because it they won't let you check it at the airport, right? It's a weapon formed against you, so they won't like, hey, you can't bring this weapon in here. It's formed against you, so you got to leave it. So same thing about these regrets. So at this moment in time, understand that it does take time for you to have this realization, for you to analyze it, and then for you to work about emotionally dissolving those tensions which are inside of you. And that takes time. It's not something that is, you can talk about it and then it's over. No, because emotions don't work like that. Emotions are rooted in your character, they're rooted in your being. They move you. They're the reason you wear the clothes you wear. They're the reason you associate with the people you associate with or talk to or want to be around. They're very fundamentally who you are inside. Like, they come from your family structure, all kinds of things like that. So it's not just something you can just talk out and it's just, oh, I feel better. It's like, yeah, you now have a conscious realization so you can begin to feel better, but that's just the beginning. So it does take time. The other aspect that you've been feeling besides the regret is boredom. Okay, so now this one is something to be careful with, because earlier, a couple weeks ago, a couple days ago, you were talking about action adventure. Business is action adventure. And you still agree with that. However, when it comes to wealth building and business continuation and that type of stuff, at a certain point, the adventure becomes familiar, because you are good at what you do, because you know what the next step is, you know what the process is, you know how to go from introduction to, I don't know, to the closing table, or to from where you meet somebody to where they're not your client, you're doing business with them, you got their business, you service them, and you're working on client retention with them, and you're managing their emotions, you're managing your relationships. Those type of things for you are boring. And the reason they're boring is because they're familiar. You've been conditioned for much of your life to look for the unfamiliar, to look for the things that are shiny object syndrome. Or you've never had fear of missing out, but it's more of shiny object syndrome. What can I go after that looks like it's on the pathway of my success? And if it's something that's like a quick instant reaction, you go after it faster. But the stuff where it's like, it's building over time, it takes time for people to get their emotions calibrated, get their emotions in line with your emotions, or at least in with the direction in which you're leading them. That type of stuff is boring to you. But that's okay, because when it gets boring, that's when you get really good at it. There's the perfection, the systems, the speed comes in, because you don't have to think about it. And for you, you like to think about stuff. And so when it comes to something you don't have to think about, you get frustrated, because you're like, I'm so smart, I should be thinking about something. But that's the point. Like, when you get smart, you don't have to think about the things anymore. It's like you've solved the problem. There is no other problem to solve. Ta-da. You have now extricated yourself from the situation. So please keep in mind that when you're bored, that's good, because you did solve the problem. Like, you can go ahead and pat yourself on the back. Hey, you did it, right? No one's gonna tell you this. You have to realize it yourself. And this is a key thing, though, because when you are bored and you have been conditioned to look for the excitement and the adventure and what's around that next corner and all those types of things, that's when you start making poor decisions. Because when you already have excellent and you're looking for what's better than excellent, or you think, well, I'll put it like this: when you already have excellent, because you are excellent and you've been conditioned to always do better and strive for more, you will have excellent and give it away because you think that you didn't do good enough to get it. Does that make sense? Like you didn't believe, you didn't have high enough self esteem. I mean, you put the work in, but you didn't have high enough self esteem to realize that you had already garnered and won excellence. However, you were looking for that next thing, so then you made a poor decision now, and was like, oh, let me just go not show up to this appointment that you worked very hard for, or not uh, produce, right? So pay attention to those type of things because you don't want to be in a good position and then because you're bored, because you've done well, that now you make a poor decision, which puts you back in the corner. That's that fear of success coming out because it's like, oh, it should be more exciting than this. Okay, look, again, you're 24, right? You got like 30 more years or whatever until I mean, you really got till you die, right? So if you live a normal, safe, average life, let's say you go to 70, you could probably make it to 120, but let's just say 70 or 90 or something like that. That's like 45 years. There will be plenty of exciting days in 45 years. Okay? You're only 24, so that's almost twice what you got. And even in the past 6 years since you graduated high school, you have had so many exciting days that your hormones have changed. Like you joined the military, you broke both your legs, you made a movie, you like won the lottery. You didn't win the lottery, but large amounts of money. You project managed, you property managed, you sold real estate, door knocking, hustling on the streets. Like, man, you read all kinds of books, then been in a room full of billionaires, met people making hundreds of millions of dollars. You done been outside the country multiple times. You've spoken multiple languages. You own your own home. You don't have you're retired. You're retired, right? I mean, you're not retired, of course, because work for you has become more than just a means to pay some bills. All right, so it's definitely more of an expression of who you are, much like this content. So for you to feel bored, it's like yeah, man, you've done more than most people have ever experienced in life. I mean, you've done more than you have the vision and dreams to write books, hundreds of books. All right, so like more than I mean, even like your parents honestly like could hope for. So I mean, if they wanted a child who was going to be someone who did a lot of things or had a lot of vision, they got one. So if they ever felt like they didn't have any vision, I got enough to share. Okay, so definitely in the next, until I get 70, 45 years, right? So let's just look at it in that type of frame. 45 years, that boredom is going to keep me making good, excellent decisions. And, well, if I'm bored, that means it's a result of me making good, excellent decisions. Sometimes that adventure and all that is going to result in a poor decision. So all of the things that I've named, I can do and recreate. And it will be an excellent decision, especially like with the books and write more books. So, I mean, with that being said, I was looking at the other video about what could I do at 3:33 in the morning. Okay, so most of those things are things which, after I ran them through the urgency and importance dichotomy, were things that were planned, like stocks, reading books, exercise, yoga, meditate, writing, um, most of that stuff that gradually improves the quality of my life, I can plan to do. The only thing that was urgent was practicing my listing presentation. And that's not like urgent. It's in that list of things, it's urgent. So what that means is when you do have plans and things are going according to plan, it's boring because it's predictable, because you predicted that this was happening in your life. Understand that that's what you want. Like your past self is saying, this is where you want to be now. So the fact that you are here now means you got to give yourself in the past some credit, because it was like, that guy, hey, he knew what he was talking about. But it's so predictable. It's like, oh, this is like boring because I know it's around the next corner, because I'm the one who built the streets that have the corners inside of them. So that's good. Okay, you gotta condition yourself to think, okay, boring is good because boring is predictable. And since it's predictable, the opportunities that I want to lay in my path are the opportunities that I decided self-actualized for myself to be the best opportunities that I could think of at the time. And with that being said, it's also where you build wealth. All right. So, like, if you look at wealth like some bricks, you got one brick here, then you got another brick. Okay, that brick is the same brick, right? It's just two bricks. Okay. Now, when someone builds a skyscraper, it's not like in the middle of that skyscraper they got like some other component that's like not made out of brick. It's just more bricks on top of each other. Okay, so that's pretty boring. I mean, I do like the idea of masonry, but when you're laying bricks, they're not gonna be like, this brick's a talking brick. That's exciting. No, that's that's not gonna happen. It's just gonna be more bricks that are just repeating and over, unfolding on top of themselves. When you get to the end, though, that's just one building. But even once you got to the end of the building, it's just a multiplication or a multiplicity of bricks. So is it more or less important than the individual? Well, you could say you would more likely feel like it's more important, but when you did it, you just were following the blueprint. So by the time you got to the end, it was still pretty boring. But when you looked back over it, that was when you could have some pride moments and like, oh man, like that was pretty boring throughout the process because I was following the blueprint. But when I'm looking at the results, I can appreciate the results and I'm proud of the results. So that's where the boring part comes in. It just means that you've gotten into the process. However, when you get through with it, you'll be able to look back and say, oh, I really appreciate that. That's something I value highly. That's something that I would consider to bring me wealth because I value it and I know its intrinsic value for myself. So that doesn't mean make a new decision. Don't make a new decision. Stick to the plan because it's boring. Yes. Yes. So it's good you had this talk with yourself because you've never had like these types of talks before where it's like, oh man, what this and that. And the other thing, you have to iron out like these character things because I'm like, man, I'm bored. This shit should be something else. Like, no, you don't know what else it should be because you've never been bored and gotten through it because you've been conditioned otherwise. So this is the boredom is the new experience. You gotta ta-da. So look at it like that if you have to. The other thing, when it comes to these doors, right, these door knockings, Remember, you are definitely talking to more than 200 people a day selling face masks on the street, making about $3,000 a month. Just last year. And really think about it, a year is not that much time. I mean, if you spend it loosely, it feels like a lot of time. But if you invest it, you find that it's a very long amount of time, as well as a very appreciable short amount of time. Because when it compounds, a lot can happen. So remember that. Last year, you were talking to like 200 people a day. You're literally talking to every single person you saw on the street. So for you to be over here doing 100 doors a day, Monday through Friday, come on, man. Like, the hardest part is just walking up and down those long driveways. These $500,000 homes got long driveways. That's it. All you gotta do is get you some nice shorts, the company T-shirt or a polo, and just go to work. Like, it's easy. It might take a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours, and then after that, write people some nice thank you cards, put them in the mail, follow up on some phone calls with your current clients, start making some educational content involving the real estate with your you teaching the processes. I mean, you've done that before also. So don't forget about that, the wholesaling of videos, and as well as just the boring part is where you dig deep in this boring thing. Think about it like this, okay? Synonyms and antonyms and consonants, right? Boring. If it was like a tool, that means you were boring a hole into the ground. You're going deeper into the foundations. And that's what you want, isn't it? It is. So there's that. Oh, and also the antonym for adventure is look this up, man, because yeah. There's no point in telling yourself wrong when you could find out that you're right. So the antonym for adventure is assurance. Inactivity. Stillness. Passiveness. That's what you at, man. Like, you on the opposite side. What's up? Like, that's it. Like, man, like you did it. And you did it so well you don't even know you did it. So this is the thing. If you wanna get some adventure, all right, when you're finished making these videos after you do your 150 days, start making some music. Make some music. Stuff you already happen to just, you just spit something off of the cuff, middle of the day or something. Just put that on some track. Do 150 tracks. You don't gotta release it. You just put out one at a time, and then if you want to get some more adventure, you go perform it. Just on like some like type of like off day or something. But that's not the focus, right? Because we already know that the wealth building game is the boring game. That's why it's just bricks after bricks after bricks. Bricks on bricks on bricks. Houses on houses on houses. One house, two house, 3, 4, 5. One contact, two contact, three contact, one closing, two closing, three closing. It's a process. And processes, when they're executed well, are boring. So So you are making the processes, right? You still got to do your policy and procedures manual. However, things are getting progressively better. And so it's in times like this when people like you mess it up because you don't know. Maybe you, I don't know. Maybe you do know that it is getting better. You're afraid of that. You're afraid that you'll change. Like, I'm afraid that I'll start wearing more suits. Or I'm afraid that I won't have time for myself. But the thing is, I have all the time for myself because I've done things right. I don't even have to have a job. I don't need a job for what? I already got my bills paid, like, and I got free time. So it's just, you can take your time really crafting yourself, your image, your style, maybe what type of hair you got, you know what I'm saying? You got the hair, or like if this, maybe trim this beard up some, or um all kinds of things. Like, I mean, the office is, you got your style on the wall in the office. You can make some more videos about these values you have up here, like it is your life. Just talk about that. Or sowing and reaping is about what I will ultimately end up with. You sowed in for a peaceful life. You're ending. You get it. You're getting it. You sowed in for a investment career. You're getting it. This is what it looks like. Where you just have mailbox money. You just get checks in the mail. You did that. And you can duplicate it. And you will. And it's boring. I think Charlie Munger says that Warren Buffett made a lot of money just sitting on his hands. I just gotta do the same thing. Like, I got money left over at the end of the month. All I gotta do is just reinvest it into my future. That's boring. It's research. You did so much research, you know what not to do. So now you just have to be still. Stillness. The boredom. And inside of that stillness and that boredom, release those regrets. Farewell.